How's it going? I'm working in Japan as an English teacher, and I had a thought. My students do an insane amount of schoolwork and extracurricular activities, and if I can make that even slightly more fun for them, I would. Recently, I put together this small 5-gallon aquarium, which has sent me down a YouTube rabbit hole of watching these fish tank setup ecosystem videos. So without thinking, I thought I would slap a small tank in my school to give the kids something to learn about and also feed my addiction for this hobby. Little did I know that this would go horribly wrong. While watching these ecosystem videos, I've also been watching many I Did a Thing videos, which is why I'm trying to copy his style while simultaneously adding no additional value of my own to the formula. In fact, you may as well click off and go watch one of his videos instead. In case you do want to, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. I don't know why you're still here, but since you are, I'll explain to you what an ecosystem tank is. Basically, traditional aquariums require a filter, but some cheeky buggers like this old guy called Father Fish, who is basically a fish Santa Claus, discovered that if we stop trying to artificially replicate nature and just reuse nature itself, we don't actually need an electrically powered filter.
There is one that is the most effective media of all. It is sand.
You also don't need to buy food either, according to his jar wisdom.
How in the world do you get enough of them out of that little jar to make a difference?
If you're going to choose just a mechanical filter or just plants simply do a better job and require way less maintenance. This sounded perfect for the tank that I'd be keeping at school. So, using this video as a reference point, I went online to start looking for a nano tank. Japan has this website called Mercari, which is sort of like a fancy Craigslist or Gumtree. Everything that I've purchased here comes in practically brand new condition, and it's shipped in boxes that look like they're from a warehouse. The goal was to make this as cheap as possible. The shipping was about 1,000 yen or $7 US, which means the tank was also roughly $8 or $9 US. I went to a river to have a swim.
Whoa! Yeah! Oh! I landed on my butt.
I also picked up some substrate, stones, and plants that I would be able to use in the final setup.
Got a bunch of free plants in it.
I could see moss growing nicely on these stones, so I thought it would be perfect for the look I wanted to achieve.
Lovely.
Taking all of these back to my apartment, I cleaned off the dirt and clogged my bathtub in the process.
Oh fuck.
Boiled and baked anything that I'd be putting in the tank in order to avoid any unwanted pests in the aquarium. To clean the plants, I just let them sit in a bucket of chlorinated water overnight. Now that everything's at the school, I can start the building process. I decided on a location for the tank, which rocks to use, and what the scape's gonna look like. I add any leftover aquarium soil. If you don't have this, you could literally bake oven soil from the earth, like Dustin's fish tanks over here.
So we're gonna take dirt like this, straight up, we're gonna mash it up as best we can, and we are going to bake it for about 25 minutes at 270 degrees or so. We're gonna keep an eye on it. We're gonna kill anything that's in this.
I kept the front of the aquarium free from soil, so you can't see it when I cap it with gravel from the river. I like the look of multiple layers from the side. I added the hardscape and completely scrapped my old plants. Add the plants to the tank, and then some water. Here's where things started to go a little wrong. I wanted to do a dry start, which is where you let moss grow on your rocks before filling the tank with water. This would avoid the need for string to tie down the moss to the rock. I cut up the moss into tiny pieces, crushed up some root tabs, which would help the moss grow, and then crushed up a little bit of soil. I then mixed the soil, root tabs, and moss to create a mossy paste. I then painted the moss onto the stone. Now, I simply cover the tank with cling wrap to keep the humidity in, spray water daily, and in a few months, it would be covered in moss. Japanese companies hate fun of any kind, and as such, there are rules against this sort of thing here. I should have seen it coming. So, I took the aquarium home, which my missus was not overly thrilled about. During the time I did have the aquarium at school, many of the plants died and the moss fell off while I was transporting the tank back home. So it was time for another option. I loved this hair grass. It's simple and cheap. I got a few and plonked them into the tank. I also took some trimmings and floating plants from my other tank and placed them in the new one. These, especially the floaters, will do an amazing job eating up toxins that would hurt the fish and keep everything fresh. Lastly, to try and win back favor with the missus, I found a light at Don Quixote that would make everything look a lot more cute on her desk. It was finally time to add fish, and also beneficial bacteria as such to avoid any fish deaths that are unwarranted. For the inhabitants, I went with yellow cherry shrimp, golden apple snails, and chili rosbaris. I just love these fish. They're so much more active than neon tetras and have a striking red color. Contrasted with the cherry shrimp, they're also always very busy and make the tiny aquarium very fun to watch. Due to their absolutely minuscule size, I find it makes the whole aquarium look a lot bigger too. I guess you could say this was kind of a success. I basically completely flopped on the idea of the educational system, but ultimately I have a cool looking tank that I can look at every night before I go to sleep and cry afterwards. Tune in next time for when I teach my fish how to play Osu.